Alrighty. Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Anne Michelle Sotelo. Today I'll be your GIA presenting finance in grad school and ways on how to, access a little bit of extra cash because school is expensive and it shouldn't be, but you know what? It is what it is. And my supporting team today, I'm gonna let them introduce themselves, but yeah.
Yeah, so my name is Esmeralda. I'm also part of the graduate information program as a graduate information assistant, and I'll just be assisting with technology.
And then, hi, my name is Ashley. I'm also a GIA with EOP. And yeah, I'm going to be assisting with, I believe, the chat box and then whatever else Anne Michelle needs.
Alrighty, I'm gonna make this small now so you guys don't see my face through this. Hopefully. Alrighty, so let's begin the presentation. If I can technology, of course. There you go. Okay, so overview on what to consider, types of resources, master's, medical school, law school, every kind of different program will have different types of aid that you can access or have, depending on the level of education. The higher you up, the less funding there is available, just because they assume you have money. I don't know why. And yeah, so PhD, teaching credentials, links to undocumented. I will be providing links to undocumented services and help for those kind of situations that are a little bit more specific for students. So have that in mind. Okay, what to consider regarding financing when choosing your school or program? Well, there's many things to consider, but I point three important ones that I think they're pretty relevant. Sorry, I think there's, okay. Sorry about that. Okay. Does the school provide scholarships and grants to help you for school? Something that students don't usually realize or maybe don't feel comfortable doing is the fact that you can contend schools against each other to request for more grants or more help because they do have it. They just don't want to give it up, but they do have it. So like, let's say that you get into one program and then you have another program on the left and it tells you like one offers you, I don't know, like 10K and the other one offers you 15. You can contest them against each other and tell them like, hey, can you match that? Or, like maybe give me a little bit more, otherwise I'm gonna go the other way kind of thing. And schools are more than happy to like do that for you just because they want you in their program. So that's something to keep in mind. And would you be able to do an internship or work if needed in school? Some programs or schools, depending on whether it's medical school or finance school or law school, do not let you or do not highly suggest working your first year. So that's something to consider. Would you be do the school or program that you apply to provide you the lenience or the flexibility to also incorporate work hours or internship paid hours into your schedule in order for you to help your education in terms of financing? So have that in mind. It's really important to keep those little aspects in mind because sometimes it looks good on paper, but once you're actually there financing and finding money to actually sustain yourself while going through the program is actually really difficult. What other support does the school offer? Like housing resources, job opportunities, internships, resources, and more. Sometimes schools have like subsidized housing, or they have little loans or more help within the institution. Like here on campus, we have SLOC support that helps with financial need in like accessory, like in really hard in terms of hardship. So it's good to look into those kind of programs when you are picking or thinking of going to grad school, like whether they have assistance outside of the institution itself or like within the institution but without the financing department. And then types of resources that you can look into are grants, of course, federal work study, fellowships, becoming a TA, because those are usually paid positions, scholarships, loans, and loan forgiveness programs. Those, with the Biden administration, we hope they go up and they increase and we can actually get out of some debt, but we'll see how that goes. Okay, program cost. Public schools are more affordable tuition-wise. So, well, that's what they advertise. But there are also many financial opportunities with private schools. Because they are private, they're not relying on federal help. So they are able to have a more flexibility on how much they give to students and how much they are able to subsidize or like finance their education. Like I said, contesting schools against each other is a good way to like kind of squeeze a little bit more money out of them just because now they need to match another offer or they need to like bring it up in order for you to choose them, which is their end goal. The average cost of a master program is between 10,000 to 60,000 per year. Again, with aid and other type of funding that may vary. Medical school is 32 to 52. Average cost of law school 45 to 75. Average cost of a PhD 20 to 40 per year. So those raw prices are good to consider just because you are able to break them down. But then again, the money still has to come from somewhere, so it's good to have the numbers in mind. Addition and cost of tuition are always aspects that we need to like put into like a high regard, just because we don't think about it when we look at the raw scores or raw like breakdown of prices once we're looking into a university or school. But they are things that will come up and you will need to like keep in mind, but they are also flexible depending on your own needs, wants, and just location in general. So it would be housing, transportation, food, personnel expensive, book and supplies. Remember that now that we're online, maybe you won't need as many physical books, so maybe you can cut prices there. Labs and fees, overall cost of living in location, rural versus city. Do you want to live in a rural area? Do you want to live in a city? Do you have more accessibility? Is accessibility gonna be an issue for you? Or maybe you have a place to live in a near city so you can commute. Those are little things that you need to keep in mind while choosing how to finance your education, just because it will make a difference whether you can stay at home or you can just move out into a new city and live there. Health insurance. Will the school provide health insurance just like UCSC has UC-SHIP and it's kind of provided for you? Or do you have to have your own in case of an emergency? So those are also things to consider. Will the school provide you health insurance, or do you have to come up with your own? Exam fees. Again, when considering the prices of grad school, it's really important to kind of look at the price test, because you need to take the exam to get in. Although we're now with Corona, a lot of those tests are being waived, but not all of them. Sadly for the LSAT, we still have to take that one. Other expenses, it depends on your situation, but it's also important to keep in mind. I would say to like open a spreadsheet and, put those things into consideration, and then just multiply it by the time you're going to be there in the institution. We also have templates on the EOP website, so just, keep an eye out if you want already like something that is a little bit more guided. Also, we provide funding for all these types of exams, so don't stress too much about the fee. Massive programs and additional costs. The GRE, we provide funding. GRE prep, we provide funding. So if you're planning on taking any of those exams, just make an appointment with any one of us and we'll help you through the process. It doesn't have to come out of your pocket. If you prove, that you're in an economic hardship, then we are more than happy to help you with that. Application fees, we also provide funding for that. So also don't stress. Sending letters of recommendation, transcript selection information required for each school. Well, that is something also to keep in mind, because usually you have to pay for the transcript service, sending service. Like for the LSAT, which is the law school's requirement, there's this program, website called the LSAC, and the LSAC, you have to pay for the service for them to send your transcripts, and it's money that also needs to come out of your pocket, but not necessarily, because there are other forms of aid within the school. If you come to this presentation, then you have EOP, and we do provide funding for that. Also, slug support is another good resource. If you haven't used that before, we can also help you. And each school has a different fee, so sometimes they can even waive it. You can like literally call up and be like, hey, I'm thinking of applying, I'm interested in X and X program, but I don't have the money, can you help me with the fee? I would say 8 out of 10 times they will be more than willing to waive the fee for you, or send you a fee waiver, or work with you in any way, shape, or form that they can. So never be afraid to call the schools, because they are more than willing to help you. They're usually pretty nice about that. Again, resources, I mentioned some that you can find on campus, and there's always fee waivers available. You just don't advertise them, but if you call them up, they most likely will have them. Not all the time, but 8 out of 10. Master programs, funding opportunities. Okay, so employers pay for school may be able to pay for your school. Sometimes going into a master program can like right after college can be a really great thing, like going into your master's, but also sometimes, searching the field a little bit and looking for a job that might help you pay for that would be also be good, because a lot of employers will pay for your education if you can prove yourself to be a worthy employee. So sometimes looking into those opportunities would also help you, because you can be working and going to school for literally free. Assistantships, sorry for my accent. Those are also things that pay. So it's really good to like talk to professors, talk to your TAs, talk to people, like just build your network, because getting those positions would help you like on the long run, because they are paid. They're not highly advertised, but they do exist. So those are things to keep in mind. Teaching and research, like I said, being a TA or a research assistant is also a way to make money, one being while being a student. Loans, the so hated loans, I know we all hate them, but you know what, sometimes we gotta have them. Try to keep it like subsidized rather than non-subsidized, just because they want to accumulate credit while you're in school, and that way you won't have to like pay more than you actually borrow. I mean, you will, but not as much as if it was accumulating, interest while you were in the school. We can talk about more about the subsidized and unsubsidized. If you guys have any questions about that, I can do that later in the presentation. But yeah, just keep the difference between the two, because they do make a difference on how much you actually have to pay back. Federal and school-based scholarships. Well, these ones are like, like I would say federal ones that you can apply to is like Coca-Cola, Taco Bell, like things that you wouldn't think of. They give you money for going to school. Like McDonald's gives scholarships, Taco Bell gives scholarships, Coca-Cola gives scholarships. There's a lot of like federal or like national scholarships that you wouldn't think of just because they come from fast food places, but hey, they pay, so why not apply? And school-based ones, sometimes they have scholarships or internships that are like within the institution that you can apply to, and they will provide you with funding and money. So those are something things to look into. National and school based, same thing. Fellowships and grants. So those are just like forms of funding that you can find in a master program. And then here I'm gonna break down like a little bit of like what like individually like med school and law school and stuff like that, just so you can keep like an additional cost baseline of like what to look for or like what to think about when you're applying to this particular institution, just to keep as a reference. So for medical school, the cost includes the application fees includes it's like 170, and including initial schools and 40 for each additional school. I think for the initial school is only one, and then you have to pay for any other ones. You have to apply for the MCAT, through the MCAS. Yeah, MCAS is the Association of American Medical Colleges. So, it's a lot of like the LSAC. It's just like a website that you go into, you pay for the service, and you can like, it helps you keep your application together as you go in, but it is a paid service. So just keep that in mind. We can pay for that if you apply for funding. Secondary application fees costs vary. Like I said, all those things with the school, if you call them and be like, hey, I don't have money for that, can you help me? They're more than willing to waive fees. So just keep that in mind. Colleges and services, studying transcription. Sadly, UCSC charges us to pay. We have to pay to get our transcripts. So just keep that in mind. I think it's like $15. One big tip: get it online and just save it, so you already have it. You don't have to pay for it again. MCAT is $315, really expensive, I know, but don't worry, there's funding for that. MCAT's prep costs vary. We have books and a lot of other resources for you. So if you're thinking about that, just shoot us an email. We're more than happy to help you. Transportation and for interviews, this is something that people forget about sometimes, like, oh, how can I go to the school? How can I visit? Is it gonna be like expensive? No. Half of the time the schools will pay for your transportation. If you call and be like, I would like to take a tour, but I don't have the means, they will pay for your flight ticket or your bus ticket or whatever you need. They most likely will pay for it. Most schools want you to visit so you can actually, fall in love with the institution or like the setting or the system, whatever, and they will pay, give you funding for that. Sometimes they will even pay for your hotel. So don't be afraid to call them, because they do have funding for that. They just don't advertise it, but it exists. And then yeah, incomes like it's yeah, and then there's like little resources that offer. There's like assistant programs to help cover the cost of different application process for the medical department. It's called, ooh, sorry. Ah, sorry about that. That's what it's called, AAMC, and it offers, assistance with fees. Again, more medical funding options. There's medical loans, there's district subsidized loans available regardless of need, interest increase during school. Like I said, keep in mind for those unsubsidized and subsidized loans, because they do make a difference in how much you have to pay for a year. Direct loans, parking loans, private loans, those are all things that will go into consideration once you're applying to your school. So just keep that in mind. Not everything is going to come out of your pocket, and honestly, it shouldn't. If you're smart about it, you will pay little to nothing to apply to the schools. And once you're in there, there's always options to pay for, like, to cover those fees. And there's loan and forgiveness programs when it comes to like medical departments, just because if you like kind of work like family physicians academy, like American Academy of Family Physicians and stuff like that, it's a lot like in the LAC department. If you kind of work for the federal government for a little bit, they kind of will forgive your loan. So just something to keep in mind. There's scholarships and funding programs. All these are links that I can send to you guys. So just if any of you have like any questions regarding of the links, just let us know, and we're more than happy to send you the presentation itself, so you can click on those links and you can actually, do a little bit more in-depth research into those. Law programs, my favorite part of this presentation, just because I am a future law student, hopefully, knocking on wood on that one. School applications are really expensive, let me tell you that. But they also vary, and the school does provide funding for that, so don't stress too much. Credential Assembly Service, the CAS, is 195. Law school reports are 45, and then, LSAT, beautiful exam, is $200. But like I said, all this type of money, it's good to like kind of think about, write it down, make your account, like make your little subtractions and additions to what you need, but don't stress about the cost. If you really want it, there's a lot of funding that comes from the university to cover all this. We offered test preps, and also we covered the exam fee if you ask for funding. So just think about that. Fee waivers available, financial need, like I said, schools will pay for a lot of this. Some of them are willing to waive every fee. So think about that. More resources available, like I said, you can apply for FAFSA and stuff like that. It still applies in graduate school, so think about that. General scholarships, external list, I put it right here. Let me click on it so you guys can see it. I'm not sure if you can see it, so let me see. Okay, so this is just from UCLA Law, and it looks like this, and they just kind of list them out and tell you like, requirements and whatnot. So just keep that in mind. Let me go back to full screen if I can. Sorry, add-on technology. There you go. There it is. Sorry about the hiccup. Like I said, I do technology. And that's how it looks. Scholarships by school. Like I said, sometimes the schools will not advertise certain scholarships or money that is available to you like highly, just because there's not like enough to go around, but it does exist. So don't be afraid to actually ask for it, and just contest schools against each other. Just try to like squeeze money out of you, because that's what they're doing to you anyways. And yeah, there's a lot of services: loan and forgiveness, public service, loan. This is the great thing when it comes to law school. There's public service programs that you can do, like to literally forgive of your loans because you're working, for the society, whatever. So they would help you with that. So even if you get really in debt, work a few years for them, then you're free. So, and you get, experience, connections, etc. So it's good. PhD programs, scholarships, merit based in need. There's a lot of those when it comes to PhD programs, and more that if you come, like, one thing that I noticed with PhD programs that I would like to share with you guys is that if you come with funding from your own, like let's say that you want a scholarship outside of the PhD program, and let's say that they only had 2 spots available, but you show that you already have your own funding, they're most likely will pick you too, even if you were not one of the top 2, just because you already have funding and they don't have to pay for you. So keep that in mind. Having money outside of the program itself sometimes helps, but I think this only applies to PhD programs. So just keep that in mind, because most of these are like completely funded. Like if you actually get into a PhD program, a lot of the times they'll have enough money to cover for your tuition. Like I said, not all the time, but they usually are good at, giving you teaching assistant jobs, or like assistant lecturers or research assistants. So they have like a lot of assistantships and fellowships that you can work with to cover those costs, the cost of like tuition and stuff like that. So just keep that in mind. UCSC might not be one of those because, we have had problems with that, but usually that's not a problem. Teaching programs, well, this is a little bit different just because, teaching credentials and stuff like that is like a different program in comparison to a master's or a PhD. So these ones go from the master's or PhD program to a teaching education assistance of college of higher education. So it's like a tech grant, tech. I can't pronounce it, but it's right here. And then it goes up to $4,000 a year per student. Pursuing a career in teaching requires you to take certain classes and do certain jobs to receive the grant, but like it is available to students. So you might have to help here and there in certain ways or like demonstrate need in certain categories, but like it's always like a good good resource if you need that kind of money. It requires are not met, the grant can be rebooked, so just keep in mind, keep up with those requirements. And then students8.government.teach where you can find them. And there's like more in this link, but like I will leave that on aside for you. And then financing resources for undocumented students. I don't want to go through this ones in depth just because they are a lot to unload and I wouldn't want to overwhelm you. But if you are interested in any of this, shoot us an email. We're more than happy to share them with you. We can even walk through them with you and explain how they work. So just let us know. And like you can see, there's many options and resources. So don't stress. There's always a way. And yeah, that's everything for me. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, we'll stop the recording now and feel free to ask anything.